The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton is brought to you by Dubby. What is Dubby? Dubby is a clean energy drink that is made to give you focus with no crash, jitters, or angst like those other energy drinks have. They also have no maltodextrin fillers and don't use artificial dyes. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. Dubby's products are made in the USA in an FDA-inspected facility that strictly adheres to GMP manufacturing guidelines. All of the flavors are unique and custom-made by Dubby, and you'll never taste our taste anywhere else. The best part about it is they're affordable. Dubby's drinks come out to about $1 per drink, much cheaper than Starbucks or any of those canned energy drinks. To learn more, visit w.gg.com/discount/MRTipton33 and place your order today. Use promo code MrTipton33 and save today. Dubby Energy, be better. What's going on, everybody? I want to tell you about my new friends over at Cleverman. Visit them online at becleverman.com. What they gave me was the energizing face and beard scrub along with the Cleverman face scrubber. And trust me when I say this, the energizing face and beard scrub smells amazing. Combining it with the face scrubber, making sure that your boy was looking as good and sexy as possible, opened up a whole different sensation in my face that I haven't ever felt before. I felt so clean, so fresh, and so clean, like Outcast said, and it helped me feel like I was ready for my day. Make sure you visit them online at becleverman.com and follow them on Instagram at clevermannyc. The link is up in my bio if you want to check out all the amazing products they have. Visit them online, becleverman.com. It is the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, hanging out with you here on a Tuesday morning. Good afternoon to everyone that is tuned in over on Instagram. I see Jeff Dean 4 tuned in over on Instagram. Keterzinka Ronka tuned in over on Instagram as well. I see my guy Tommy Carranza already in the comment section saying, good morning, Tip. Good morning to you, Tommy. Hope that you were having yourself a fantastic day. It is Tuesday. We are live everywhere except the place where I need to be live at right now. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, and of course, waiting to get connected over to our friends over at National Streaming Sports. Maybe I'll drop an F-bomb if it doesn't happen sometime soon. Nonetheless, USA, we are all good. It is fine here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, coming at you live on this Tuesday. Guys, something crazy happened yesterday. And this is what it was.
Has been a dilemma. They made the two big ones the other night. National championship is in the balance. 13 seconds left. Florida leads it by 2. Uzan got to go. Uzan, give it up. Cryer, 6 seconds, 5 seconds, sharp. He walked. He can't touch it. He can't. 1 second. And it's over. Florida is back on top of the college basketball world. Championship madness.
There you go, the championship madness. And it made me mad as I could possibly be, watching this over and over and over again. Just slow motion, the basketball bouncing right in front of where it needs to be. Just again, I for whatever reason, I did not think I would see a basketball game end that type of way. That is one of the weirdest, one of the dumbest damn ways I have ever seen a basketball game end. At least throw the damn ball up. Throw the ball somewhere in the air. throw do something. Don't just let it bounce right in front of you, knowing that you can't touch the damn ball. Make it hit the guy in the chest or something like that. Pass it right to his sack or something. Do something. Don't just sit there and let the ball bounce right in front of you. Throw it up towards the rim. Maybe he fouls you. Maybe he does something. Give yourself a shot. But for you to lose the basketball game like that, that's how you lose a basketball game? Congratulations to Florida. Congratulations to them getting their national championship, becoming, I believe, if this stat is correct, the first school to win 3 national championships in football, 3 national championships in basketball. They might not be a blue blood, but they are, they're undeniable. There's no way in hell you can say that this team is not undeniable. We got our guy, the Cricket Commish, coming on saying, what's good, Money Mike? What's good with you, Cricket Commish? Hope that you were having yourself a great day. Hope that you had Florida winning the national championship. I know a lot of people out there did have Florida. They were the second most chosen team. Yesterday I said that I thought that Houston would be able to pull off the win. Unfortunately for me, Houston was not able to pull off the win. And once again, in the dumbest damn way possible. I have never, ever seen a basketball game end that way. I'm just gonna keep zooming in as much as I possibly can. I get it that it's gonna be grainy, but I have never seen a basketball game end that kind of way. It was one of the craziest endings that I've seen to a game. It's gonna be up there with the Dak slide. That's going to be up there with some of the dumb ways that I've seen teams lose games. Sonia Pearson saying, good morning. Yeah, now Houston knows that how karma comes back. What they did to Duke was done onto them. I'm actually surprised that this game was close. There was a part of me that thought that Houston was going to get blown out because it's such a letdown, right? Like, you had your national championship in the Final Four. You beat Duke. And to watch that game actually be close, for Houston to have had the lead the majority of the game, 39 minutes that Houston had the lead in that game, only to squander it away and again lose the game this kind of way. That kind of way right there. And courtesy to CBS Sports, CBS was where the broadcast was. Shout out to Olivia Arenas, who's tuned in right now. Good morning, Oli. Hope you're doing well. The Cricket Commission saying, I had my show last night, so I didn't see too much. Plus, I was checking out my Cubs crush the Rangers. Man, I was actually watching the WWE to start. I was getting updates on my phone, so I had the WWE on the big TV, the national championship on the little, on my phone screen and all that stuff. But yeah, it was just another one of those like weird little. I haven't seen a college basketball game end that kind of way. Thank you so much for sharing, Sonia. I appreciate the love and the support from everybody. I got to make sure that I get some stuff shared out as well. It is always weird trying to share your own thing. I had to make sure that I actually shared it out. There we go. So everything is looking good. We are everywhere. We are finally connected back onto Roku with National Streaming Sports. Shout out to our friends over at National Streaming Sports. Clock management, guys. We got to get better at that. We can't be Houston of clock management. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I will say about it. The biggest headache in my world is clock management. Well, that's just coming back from the old radio days. I made it sound like I was an old-ass man right there. Back in my old radio days. Back whenever I was a radio man. Why all the time back then, whenever I was a young radio man, I got it. I got it going good. Sonia Pearson saying, you got to promote you. I know. I got to get better at it. I love the intimate, small audience that we have here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, but I do know that it's got to get bigger. It's got to get better. And one way that isn't better is losing the basketball game quite like this.
Has been a dilemma, although made the two big ones the other night. National championship is in the balance. 13 seconds left. Florida leads it by 2. Uzan gonna go. Uzan, give it up. Cryer, 6 seconds, 5 seconds, short. He won't. He can't touch it. He can't. 1 second, and it's over. Florida is back on top of the college basketball world. Championship madness.
Once again, shout out to CBS National Sports or CBS Sports for that. For the highlight right there. Jesus, again, you talk about one of the dumbest ways that you can lose a game, and that right there is up there with it. Again, I will show this in perpetuity. Just throw the ball up towards the basket, buddy. That's all you got to do. And do what Prim and Proper Sports is saying. Hit the like button, hit the share button. Let's see if we can't grow this audience just a little bit. I appreciate the love and the support for everyone that is watching on all the different social media platforms. Okay, so Florida wins the national championship, becoming one of, if not the only school to win 3 in basketball, 3 in football, and then multiple national championships throughout all of sports. Congratulations to the Florida Gators on winning that game. Obviously a fun game to watch. But, man, if I'm Houston, I am despondent beyond repair right now. I am just heartbroken that was the way that I lose this game. And I'm just, again, like it's one of the dumbest ways possible. But, again, I was having a conversation yesterday because I'm emotionally detached from the majority of sporting events that I watch, right? Like, unless it's the Dallas Cowboys. Thank you so much, Sonia. Thank you so much, Prim and Proper Sports. Remember to go check out Prim and Proper Sports. You'll see me doing some stuff with them throughout the week, doing all kinds of stuff. Mike, what would you say was the tipping point that caused the game to turn the other way? Oh, man, I want to say that was at least you could feel the momentum shift, right? I want to say it was like with about 5 minutes left in the second half, you could feel the momentum shift. You could feel that Florida was going to make a run. Houston's defense was doing great. Houston was out there. I mean, they were balling. Then something happens where Florida goes out. They tie the game, right? I want to say it was a deep 3. They tie the game on that. Houston calls a timeout, and then you see Kelvin Sampson writing on his little, whiteboard that it was about toughness, right? It was about toughness in that particular part of the game. We needed to be tough. And if you tell your team, we've got to be tough, you can see that something isn't going to happen your way. It reminded me of that game against Texas Tech where it was, we've got to be gritty. We've got to be the toughest team out there. And you could see that Houston had their chances. Tugaloo or something like that, he gets the ball, makes a move, and before he can go up for a layup, which would have been a pretty easy layup, he loses control of the ball. It gets knocked around. It winds up being Florida's ball. He also later on goes up to catch a rebound, and instead of, getting the rebound clear, he kind of knocks it back. There were multiple possessions there where Houston just didn't seemingly have what it took to close that game out the way that they needed to close the game out. Sonia Pearson saying karma is what the tipping point was, LOL. As a Duke fan, she must have been loving every single second of that, right? Loving every single part of it. Crooked Commish, thank you. You said that you started the new segment. I appreciate that. What do you think the tipping point was? What do you think that turning point was in that game? Because for me, whenever you sit back and you watch, what it was that they had to do, what it was that Houston had to do. They needed to play a completely perfect game. You need to do that whenever you don't have the horses to run in the race. You need to be perfect. It ain't about toughness. It's about playing smart. Whenever you tell a team that they need to start playing tougher, they don't necessarily start playing smarter. Little buddy saying, hey, they covered. That's all I care about. In the parlay world, all I care about is that team covered. Houston covered the spread, right? Good teams win, great teams cover. If you gamble, you know exactly what it is that I'm talking about. But that's not going to help Houston sleep at night over on Instagram. One of these days, I'll get this stuff in my throat cleared up. Mark E. Mix over on Instagram saying, what's up, Tip? What's up, Mark? Be sure to subscribe to his SoundCloud, his YouTube, Mark E. Mix. Always putting out some great music. Love me the EDM world. Thank you so much, Mark, for tuning in. Thank you, little buddies, for tuning in as well. Ryan, thank you so much. I'm watching this game, and again, I don't have an emotional investment in this game. I genuinely don't. My team was knocked out by Florida. I couldn't care less. Basketball is going to basketball. Basketball is going to be as random as physically possible. But I'm sitting back and I'm watching Houston just melt down. I even think I said it out loud. Houston is just melting down. And I don't want to say I was upset, but I'm watching this team. They're not making their free throws. Obviously, you know me, you got to make your free throws. I'm watching. They're not taking care of the ball. You got to take care of the ball. They're giving this game to the Florida Gators. And I'm texting friends last night, and it's like, oh, no, Florida didn't win this game. Houston lost that game. And I always push back against that mindset of this team didn't win, the other team lost. Because you can say that about literally every single game. It's all about whatever team is playing harder at the end. Whatever team has the ability to stay calm, to play their game at the end. And you can see that Florida's defense was taking Houston out of it. Marky Mix saying Houston sold when it mattered the most. Florida had the most heart. It's the old Randy Savage, right? Oh, yeah, the cream is going to rise to the top, right? That's what happens. The cream always rises to the top. The best arise to the top. Florida had the better team. Again, I was surprised that this was even a close game. I thought it was going to be an absolute blowout. Shows once again how little or how much I know about what it was going to be, just because I thought that the letdown that you were going to get was going to be so much. You beat Duke in, again, a super emotional game. Are you going to be able to come out the gates and play the way that you need to play? Houston did. Houston did. Remember, up until Florida got the lead late in the game, they had the lead in the game for a grand total of 17 seconds. Whenever the score was 8-6, was the last time Florida had the lead. And they hold on to it for the last, 40 seconds or so? 30 seconds or so? And what we have to remember here is that whenever Houston got the ball, and I'll play the replay again if I need to, but whenever Houston got the ball, there was 19 seconds left in the game. In 19 seconds, this was the best they could come up with?
Has been a dilemma, although made the two big ones the other night. National championship is in the balance. 13 seconds left. Florida leads it by 2. Uzan gonna go. Uzan, give it up. Cryer, 6 seconds, 5 seconds, sharp. He walked, he can't touch it. He can't. 1 second, and it's over. Florida is back on top of the college basketball world. Championship madness.
And I got a ton of messages from that game being like, oh, it should have been called a travel because you jumped on the ball and you slid. There's always a little bit of leeway in that. You're not going to call travel that late in the game. And even if they did, it was going to be 3 seconds left. You weren't going to be able to get a real shot off on that. Mireya Reyes saying Houston lost, Florida did not win. There's a difference. Houston played keep away instead of attacking. But that's what their MO is. That's what their identity was. If you watched a lot of their games, that's what their game was this year. They are a defensive first team. And part of defense is you milk the clock as much as you possibly can. You use all 30 seconds of the shot clock as much as you possibly can. Houston was out of their element at that end part of the game. Mireya Reyes or Marlene Salcedo saying, good morning, boys. Good morning to you, Marlene. Hope that you are having a fantastic day today here on this Tuesday with the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, live on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram, and, of course, on National Streaming Sports platform. Now, I will say this, right? Houston had a chance to win that game. And you can say Houston lost, Florida didn't win. That doesn't matter. Like, genuinely, that doesn't matter. Who's holding the trophy at the end of the day is the team that won. Houston had the lead. Houston was playing their style of game. Florida, the last 3 minutes of the game, took Houston out of it. You can say that Houston wasn't attacking, but they were, right? Again, they get the ball, they're going in for layups, and they just keep losing the ball. They're not able to hold on to rebounds because whenever you tell a team they have to be tough, they start playing outside of their element. All you got to do is play your game. Your game was getting you where you needed to be. Play smart, play your game. Slow it down when you need to slow it down because that's what Houston's offense is. As soon as it becomes a fast-paced game, that's whenever Florida gets the advantage. Watch the last 5 minutes of that game. Florida started pushing the advantage. They started making Houston move faster. That's what happened in that game. Houston, the last 5 minutes of the game, were taken out of their element, and they held tough. They really they held longer than what they should have to begin with. But kudos to Florida because you played your game. You made Houston play your game. And Houston didn't have the horses to keep up with what Florida had. Marky Mix over on Instagram saying, all critiques aside, I have to say this. Yeah, it was the most competitive tournament we've seen in a while. I'd say since 2016 or 2017. And that's exactly what I said yesterday. I loved this NCAA tournament. I thought it was so much fun. It was great to see teams that were the best playing the best. I know, there's going to be pushback there. Oh, Duke should have done this. Auburn could have done this. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. What happened is what happened, right? Florida is holding the national championship trophy. That same beautiful trophy we have here at the University of Texas, El Paso, they get to hold and have for the third time in their school. Florida did what they needed to do to win the game. Houston did what they needed to do to win the game, all but 3 minutes left in that game. Once that 3-minute mark hit, and you can see the momentum has shifted, that Florida was playing their style of basketball the way that they needed to play their style of basketball, Florida's defense clamping down on Houston's offense, you knew at that point in time that it was going to be a little bit different. That it was going to change the momentum of that game, and you just had a feeling it seemed like it was divine intervention that Florida was going to win this game. Tommy Canazza saying good morning to Marlene. Mireya Reyes saying defense is tough. Yes, it was. And then saying go UTEP, old Texas Western. The amount of people that I have to remind Texas Western and UTEP are the exact same school. Shows the marketing job that UTEP did whenever it became UTEP instead of Texas Western. And I want to say 1967, like it was the year after they won the national championship, is whenever they became UTEP. Nonetheless, Florida, they get themselves a win. Fantastic. Good job for Florida, able to pull out that championship. I did it yesterday. Y'all brought it up. You said it would be something that I need to start doing on the show. So, without further ado, we are going to re-debut something old when we're bringing it back to the new school.
I just want to put the tip in.
It's time for
Just the Tip.
That would make me uncomfortable.
Promise that it ain't too much, but just enough. Just a tip. Just a tip.
Just the tip. Just the tip.
It's time for Just the Tip.
It is Just the Tip right here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, hanging out with you here on this Tuesday morning. I told you all that whenever Just the Tip starts, we're going to do it sexy just like this. Yeah, buddy. And what we're going to be talking about here on Just the Tip is, where does Shedeur Sanders go? We've had a ton of conversation. Tommy Gananza saying, my kids are in the car, Tip. My apologies, Tommy. My apologies. I'm every time around 7:30, that's whenever the Just the Tip segment is going to be coming on. Hey, yo, pause. Nonetheless, the NFL draft right around the corner. And the stuff that's been out there, whenever you watch all the different mock drafts that are out there, and yes, I will be having my mock draft come up sooner rather than later. I might do it similar to how I did the NCAA tournament, where we wait a couple of days before the draft and we say, this is what the final mock draft for me is going to be. I'm not going to give you 9,000 different versions of the mock draft. But in the mock draft that came out today on Get Up, Mel Kiper Jr. had Shedeur Sanders falling all the way down to number 9, going to the New Orleans Saints. And I know that there's a lot that surrounds Shedeur Sanders, a ton that is out there surrounding Shedeur Sanders. Where's he going to go? What's he going to do? Blah, 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 blah. So according to Mel Kiper Jr.'s mock draft, it's Cam Ward going number 1 overall to Tennessee, Travis Hunter going number 2 overall to the Cleveland Browns, Abdul Carter going to the New York Giants, Will Campbell going to the New England Patriots, Mason Graham going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, Ashton Genty being drafted by the Las Vegas Raiders, Armand Membo going over to the New York Jets, Jalen Walker going to the Carolina Panthers, Shedeur Sanders dropping all the way to number 9 to go over to the New Orleans Saints, and then the Bears drafting Tyler Warren as their guy. Tight end out of Penn State being drafted in the top 10. Don't know if I necessarily agree with that aspect of it. I get that the issue that surrounds Shedeur Sanders is like his dad, right? Like everything. Jesus Christ, guys, I sound like ass today. Jesus. Everything that's around Shedeur Sanders is his father. The way that he was raised, he's a super cocky kind of guy, blah, 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 blah. And I'm fine with that. I want my quarterback to be confident. I want my quarterback to say, you know what, whenever it's time for me, I can make it happen. I want that out of my quarterback. And I get that that's going to be off-putting for a lot of people, but in order to be one of the best, the top 1% of the top 1% of the top 1% that gets to make it in the NFL and have a sustained career, you have to have an insane belief in yourself in order for this to happen. Mireya Reyes asking, what am I drinking? I am drinking coffee right now, like a hot coffee. I have a little bit of water. I left my water bottle in the other room where I was before I did the show. So it's just going to be coffee and water. That's what I've been drinking. I should have gotten some W energy because I am feeling a little sluggish today. I went to bed last night at about 3 o'clock in the morning. Woke up again at about 6. So That's always going to be a fun day for your boy. But watching the Shedeur Sanders stock drop, it makes me wonder here. Okay, what could legitimately happen? What could the what if be with Shedeur Sanders? Are we watching another Aaron Rodgers type of, fall from grace when it comes to Shedeur Sanders? Because if he's not going to go in the top 3, like everyone thinks he's going to do to the New York Giants, or like all the people thought earlier he was going to do to the New York Giants. Marky Mix asking, are you sure it's just coffee? I mean, there's always a little bit of things that we can add to the coffee. I probably shouldn't put their label up unless they're going to sponsor the show. There's always a couple of little things we can add to the coffee. It's got, hold on, let me do that. It's got some orange with it, so it might taste good. Coffee and a little bit of bourbon. I did that the other day. Also, whenever what was it? What day was it? It was April Fool's Day. On April Fool's Day, I asked the question, am I actually drinking bourbon and coffee? And the answer was yes, I was. Because why not? That was a good day for your boy. Anytime I can get the bourbon and coffee going, that's always a good day for your boy. I'm not drinking bourbon and coffee today, though. It's just straight coffee, Mark. Don't make it seem as if I'm an alcoholic, even though you've seen some crazy stuff on the show whenever we were doing the Tipping Point on Fox Sports 1380. For those that don't know, Marky Mix was actually my first producer on the Tipping Point whenever we started doing that show on a live and regular basis. Yes, I had to pre-record a sports show 3 days before sports actually happened. It was the most annoying thing in the world. I'm not going to continue talking about iHeart and the nightmare it was working there. But if Shedeur Sanders doesn't go number 3 overall to the Giants, or if he doesn't go in the top 3 to Tennessee, who I don't think needs a quarterback, I don't think Cam Ward needs to be the guy drafted number 1 overall. Cleveland needs a quarterback. The Giants need a quarterback. New England, not so much. The Jaguars, maybe. Marlene Salcedo saying, I need straight bourbon today. That'll be me in about, 27 minutes, 26 minutes and some change to have to deal with all the stuff that's in my throat. Would the Raiders draft a quarterback? Yes, I know you got Geno Smith, but I could see a situation if Shedeur Sanders is there. Why don't you take a flyer on him? He's been considered a top quarterback prospect over the last couple of years. Jackson State all the way to Colorado. He's been considered a top prospect. But the thing is that a type of guy that you need or that you want in your locker room if you're in Vegas? If you're worried about his immaturity, is being the quarterback in Las Vegas going to be the place where you want to have Shedeur Sanders? And I don't think the answer to that is yes. Marlene Salcedo saying, coming over, you got it. I've got like 4 different kinds of bourbon in here. So, I mean, we can do that. I got some tequila too. Yeah, right here. My Jose Cuervo flask. You can hear the tequila in there. I always go with the traditional. I go with that one as like my favorite type of tequila. I might just do a tequila shot right now to help out. Mireya Reyes saying, I knew you would bring up Aaron Rodgers. It's one of the more historic, like, slide down the draft ever. Like, it would be wild not to bring up Aaron Rodgers. I want to say that's like the most public fall in the draft, right? Like, that's just common knowledge. Of course it's going to be brought up. Marky Mix asking me, who's going to go number 1 overall this year, Tip? Mark, I've been saying it since as far as I can remember, since the season ended. After Tommy Cananza says, I'm calling in, Tip, yo, I'm with it. Bring the Hoochie Daddy shorts. We can both be rocking our Hoochie Daddy shorts today. I think it should be Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter should be the number 1 overall pick. And my thing is if I'm Tennessee, I'm trading out of that position. I'm trying to stockpile as many picks as possible because I have a lot of issues with my team to begin with. I like Will Levis as a quarterback. I think if you give him talent, if you give him someone like a Travis Hunter, even if you give him a little bit of help with like Ted McMillan, you get him something. right? And if you can draft Ted McMillan or a couple of these other wide receivers later on in the draft, or maybe even address your offensive line, why not trade out of that number one spot? And if I'm New England, if I'm the Browns, why wouldn't I trade up just a little bit in order to get a guy like Travis Hunter? Because I think there's two guys in this draft that I think you can say these are the best two guys that are going to be on the field. And I want to say it's Travis Hunter, and I want to say it's a healthy Abdul Carter. Obviously, Carter, the injury, not needing surgery, how's that going to affect him as he gets, further along in his NFL career? That's going to be the little red flag there. But with everyone that's in the draft, you don't have a whole lot of belief in everyone else that's there. You can say Cam Ward might be the best quarterback in this draft. That's cool. That's like saying I have the best podcast in El Paso. Cool. Who cares? Right? Midea or Tommy Cananza saying, now you know how I feel when you and everyone else brings up the Cowboys, Midea. Just saying. You bring up the Cowboys all the time. The Cricket Commission saying Geno Smith dropped as well. People were thinking that he would go in round one. That is true. But I don't think that was covered necessarily as much as the Aaron Rodgers fall from grace. And then plus we can say this and, cover your ears if you're someone that listens to the show and I hate on Aaron Rodgers a lot. Aaron Rodgers is a lot better quarterback than what Geno Smith was, right? So I think that's why it's one of those things that that gets spoken about all the time is Aaron Rodgers was and is a better quarterback than Geno Smith was. So I think that's why it's always one of those public things. But yes, Geno Smith also falling from grace. People thinking that he was going to be a first rounder, winds up going over to the Jets. And then we all saw how that all played out for Geno. Is that going to be Shedeur Sanders' fate? Because again, this isn't a great draft. It just isn't. Sure, you got a lot of offensive linemen. Sure, you have some running backs in there that you can say, oh, I think this guy's going to be the best. But this isn't a great draft. It wasn't like last year's draft. It wasn't like a couple of years back with Aiden Hutchinson, right? And Thibodeau and all these other guys that you're like, okay, there's a lot of talent in this draft. This draft just seems kind of right? Like it's a mid-draft. And if you watch Shedeur Sanders fall, it could be because maybe you're just not sold on taking a quarterback at that point in time, right? Do you need is a quarterback going to be what fixes the Giants? Is it going to be what fixes the Raiders? Is it going to be what fixes the New Orleans Saints? No, because they have so many more holes on the team that even though you have the possibility of, okay, well, Shedeur Sanders is there, you have so many more holes in your team that you need to fill. And if he does somehow manage to fall out of that top 9, right? Because there's 4 teams that might need a quarterback. It's the Giants, the Browns, the Raiders, and the Saints. If he falls out of that, well, the Bears don't need a quarterback. 49ers don't need a quarterback. The Cowboys don't need a quarterback. The Dolphins don't need a quarterback. Do you already give up on Anthony Richardson if you are the Indianapolis Colts? You drafted Michael Penix last year if you're the Atlanta Hawks, or the Atlanta Falcons, rather, sorry. You have Kyler Murray. Do you stick with Kyler Murray if you are the Arizona Cardinals? You're not gonna draft a quarterback if you're Cincinnati. You just signed Sam Darnold, which good for you, Seattle. You got Baker Mayfield. You got Bo Nix. You got maybe 21 is where you need a quarterback. Maybe he falls all the way down to 21 to Pittsburgh, and that would be a great situation for I was going to say Geno Smith. That'd be a great situation for Shedeur Sanders. That would be a team that I say, okay, you have now your franchise quarterback. You got 2 great weapons for him to throw the ball to. That would be a good spot for him. 21 would be a good spot for him. I just don't see if there's a way that he falls out of that top 10, that he gets drafted in the next top 10, right, where he's in the top 20, and he could fall all the way down to number 21, where right now the thought process is that the Steelers are going to draft Jackson Dart at that position right now. Our guy Marky Mix asking where will Quinn Ewers land. I've got him going in the 4th round. He might be an early 3rd round pick, but that again is just like that's going to be that's a tough sell for me, man, because he didn't have anything super overwhelming. And I can see a team like the Cowboys taking him in the 3rd round. Maybe the Cowboys don't have a 4th round pick this year. Maybe he falls all the way to the 5th round. I don't see him being in the top 2 rounds. Like I think Quinn Ewers is 100% a project at quarterback, and I don't think that that's someone that you draft, because if you draft a quarterback in the first 2 rounds, you're expecting this guy to be able to step in and start winning you some games, right? Look at what happened last year in Atlanta with Michael Penix. He steps into the role. He wins some games. They make a late push, almost made it to the playoffs. What if they had let him start the whole season, right? Obviously, you couldn't do that because you had Kirk Cousins back there. You had to keep it going. Quinn Ewers, to me, is a project quarterback. That's a guy that I don't think you draft in the first couple of rounds expecting him to be the guy that's going to take the reins right away. Maybe Dallas can do something with him. Maybe if you're the Steelers, you draft him in the later rounds as well, because right now you don't have a quarterback, and all signs are pointing that you're going to sign Aaron Rodgers. So you need to have the guy that's going to come in and take the mantle from Aaron Rodgers later on in either the year or next season. Marky Mix saying J.K. McCarthy is a good example about that. 100%. 100%. And that's the thing that I think is going to hurt Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, is if they are drafted in the first round, you're expecting these quarterbacks to come in and be the savior of your franchise. If it's Cam Ward being drafted in the number 1 overall, whether it's Tennessee or whoever, that's not going to be the missing piece to your puzzle. If I'm the New Orleans Saints, do I trade number 9 to go all the way to number 1 and draft Cam Ward, because you do need a quarterback in New Orleans? Or do I just let it ride with Spencer Rattler and wait until next season when I know there's going to be more quarterbacks, better quarterbacks coming out of the draft next season? J.J. McCarthy, that's right. Sorry, my bad. Right? Like you've got to be able to navigate these waters. And again, we're less than a month away. We're what? 20 days away? 16 days away from the draft? So it's just right around the corner. Wow. That just shocked me right there. Wow. We're right there by the draft. Oh my God. So it's right around the corner. You can't be spending what if picks, right? If you're not completely sold on Shedeur Sanders, don't draft Shedeur Sanders in the top 3, top 10, because you need to make sure you got the quarterback you want to have, or you're filling positions that you need to fill. I know it's not sexy. I get it 100 times. It's not sexy. Address your offensive line, because it doesn't matter who your quarterback is. If they don't have time to throw the ball, they're not going to be a great quarterback. Marlene Salcedo saying, I saw the Cowboys picked up another quarterback with one hell of an arm. Were those fake news? No, they did pick up a quarterback. They made a trade the other day. I'm trying to remember. Joe Milton. They traded for Joe Milton, who was with the Patriots last year. He does have a cannon, an absolute cannon of an arm. But he's going to be the backup, right? And I kind of like this pickup from the Dallas Cowboys. I didn't want to talk a whole lot about Dallas Cowboys right now, but I will, just because it seems to be the thing that we're talking about at the moment. Sorry, I want to check this, make sure that I'm addressing all of the comments and everything like that on all the different platforms. Again, it's like looking at a spaceship in here when you look at the amount of computers and screens that I have to have going to keep up with everything. Because I said it this year, right? You restructured Dak's deal, and you kind of know that the end of the road for Dallas is coming up with Dak. Like that's right down the pipeline. You see that it's coming down the pipeline, the end of the road for Dak Prescott in Dallas. So why not, trade for an heir apparent? Why not trade for someone who can step in and maybe do what Cooper Rush did over the last couple of seasons? Because we know Dak has an injury history. Dak is more than likely going to miss a couple of games this year as well. $60 million going to a dude that gets hurt a lot isn't where you want to be. So the Dallas Cowboys restructure the deal. They can get out from under the deal next year. And why not have Joe Milton learn the offense with the Dallas Cowboys? You get rid of Dak Prescott on that huge albatross of a contract. You have a young, affordable quarterback. And now you can build the team around that young quarterback. Again, it doesn't have to be Patrick Mahomes. We saw it. It can be Sam Darnold. As long as you have a team that's around him, one that can protect the quarterback, which the Vikings did a really good job of, except for 2 teams in 4 games. Get him a lot of talent around him, protect him, give him enough time to throw the ball, and you can make Sam Darnold a Pro Bowl type of player. That's what I think teams are going to do. You can do the same thing with a Brock Purdy, right? Mr. Irrelevant, last pick in the draft, winds up taking a team to the Super Bowl because he has just enough talent around him where it makes his shortcomings not matter. It elevates the team because you give them a quarterback that they can believe in. You have a good offensive line. That's the thing that people always forget about with San Francisco. They had a great offensive line, a lot of talent around Brock Purdy. That's how you have to build your team. Now, if you're going to pay your quarterback the way that the Cowboys have paid Dak Prescott in the past, then you have to realize he's got to be the guy. He's got to be the Mahomes. He's got to be the Joe Burrow type player, right? Even though I think they're the same guy. He's got to be able to be that guy that elevates the team. And as of right now, Dak Prescott isn't that guy because the best ability you can have is availability. And Dak Prescott over the last 3 years has had a lot of injuries, missing extended periods of time. So if you're going to do that, now you've got a cheap young quarterback that can come in, learn the system, more than likely get a bunch of reps with the first team squad. And now it makes moving on from Dak Prescott a little easier than it would have this past season or even this upcoming season right now. Because if you get rid of Dak Prescott, the dead hit on your salary cap, I want to say is $90 million, or it might be around $100 million if you get rid of Dak Prescott this year. If you get rid of Dak Prescott next year, it's actually less than what you're paying him. So it has a net positive getting rid of Dak Prescott at that point in time. Marlene Salcedo saying, do you think if they start him in preseason and he does well, they will start him before Dak? No. It's money. The only way that Dak Prescott isn't starting for the Dallas Cowboys this year is if a team trades for him. Because again, you can't have $60 million a year sitting on your bench. It's just a bad investment. And then 2, it's such a bad look for the team. Right? Like, you can't have $60 million there. Now, if he plays really well in the preseason and Dak is struggling, let's say week 5, Dak has like 15 interceptions or something like that, then you can start the process of maybe let's see what Milton has. Let's see what Joe Milton has. We bring him in here. Let's see if it changes the ship, right? Kind of like what happened last year with Carolina, Bryce Young, and Andy Dalton, right? Bryce Young was struggling. Let Andy Dalton start a couple of games. Andy Dalton gets in a car crash. Bryce Young gets his job back. Bryce Young starts playing a lot better than he had in the past. Maybe that's what it would be. Just a little shock to the system. Let's see what it does. But I don't see a scenario like Joe Milton would have to play out of his GD mind in order to steal the starting job from Dak Prescott. And then that's when the conversation would need to be had of, okay, do we just release Dak now? And if we release him, there's going to be so much repercussions salary cap wise for the Dallas Cowboys. So for me, you got to bite the bullet. This is the prove it season for Dak, right? Again, realistically, I don't think the Dallas Cowboys are going to go 0-17. I don't think they're going to go 17-0. I think they're somewhere between a 9-win to an 11-win team maybe a fringe wild card team, but I think sincerely they'll more than likely be on the outs of the playoffs, right? I think it'll be a replay of this year where they'll just miss the playoffs by a game or something like that. Tommy Canazza saying the only way Joe sees the field this season is if Dak gets injured again, 100%. I mean, I agree with that 100%, Tommy. That's the only way Joe Milton gets on the field is if Dak gets hurt. Or, again, if Dak is – we're, 4 games in the season, Dak's got 20 interceptions, then I can see that happening. But if Dak has more touchdowns than interceptions, it's going to be so hard to put Dak on the bench. There's so much money there, so much investment there that it's going to be hard to leave that on the bench. You have to have your $60 million guy playing some games. It's just got to be that way. Man, love those questions. Look at you guys getting me started on the Dallas Cowboys today. I wasn't even wanting to talk about the damn Dallas Cowboys. I hate that I love that team. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to start because I was surprised at what I said earlier. I got 16 days before the NFL draft. We are going to do some stuff with the NFL draft, whether or not we go to Green Bay. I'm still thinking we are going to go to Green Bay because we've been approved for the last 3 drafts. So why wouldn't they continue approving us for this draft now that we've got a slightly larger platform and more people actually watching the show than what we did in the past? So hopefully, fingers crossed, this year we can go to the draft in Green Bay. I'll have to drive up there, and I'm good with that drive if I got to do it. No American Airlines. I know that much. Tommy Canazza saying, even then Dak starting, the Jones family doesn't like benching top-paid players. And that's the thing, right, is he's not just the highest-paid player on the team. He's the highest-paid player in the league. And you can't have that guy on the bench. If you're paying money for it, it goes back to the Bronny James conversation we had back in March. If you're paying a guy that much money, he better be on your roster and he better be contributing. Bronny James is a G League dude, a G League talent, but he's making $7 million with a year, which makes him your top 9 highest paid player on your team. He needs to be on your NBA team and not on your G League team. Dak Prescott is the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, making $60 million a year. You gotta put him out there. He's got to play games. And if he's terrible, then you ride him until the wheels fall off and hope that he gets injured again. I know it's a terrible thing to say. I know it's a horrible mindset to have, but that's just the way that the game is played. Marlene Salcedo giving us a fingers crossed emoji, like please, 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 please. And then as she does, as we all should do, we acknowledge our tribal chief. Now we go on our happy little way. All right. So I'll be working on some information for the NFL draft. I don't know if I'm going to pre-record something for the NFL draft where I give you all my mocks. I would like to Jesus. A little professionalism tip, please. I would like to have some production and stuff around it. So I might do something along those lines and put it out here on social media. Might just have a show, talk about the show. I'll be in the comment section, all that kind of stuff. But I want to put some production value behind it whenever I give you all my mock draft. So that'll be coming up in the next couple of days here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. Okay, so y'all can see that I'm struggling right now. I'm going to go ahead and end the show a little early today just because I need to get whatever the hell is in my throat out of my throat. Again, the nosebleed thing, it's a constant thing. I apologize for that, but it's just the way that's going to be. I got 54 minutes of the show done, though, so at least we got that going on right there. Look, tomorrow we'll be back, everybody. We'll talk more about the NFL draft, more about basketball, the NBA. The regular season is coming to an end. Where the playoff season is going to be. I know, Tommy, you don't care about it. Maybe, just maybe, we'll talk a little bit about the UFL. Yeah, UFL. I was going to say USFL, but it's the UFL now. Of course, with the Arlington Renegades, my favorite team in the UFL. Just the tip of professionalism. Don't worry, Tip. I got you, my guy. I got you. I appreciate it so much. All right, everybody, we will see you tomorrow. Until then, Have yourself a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. You all know there are hundreds of betting sites out there, but don't be fooled. Some sites are legal in some states only. Some sites pay in Bitcoin, and some sites have even been hacked. However, BetUS has been in business for over 30 years. They have future bets that are paying out in the thousands, and there's still time for you to bet on the Super Bowl, the National Championship, and even the NBA Championship. Just use the QR code right here, and it will take you to the BetUS site. BetUS. Check it out and bet responsibly. Are you a fellow car guy? I have a 2008 Ford Mustang GT convertible, and nothing makes me happier in that car than when it's nice and clean. And you know who helps me get there? RevAutoCarCare.com. They help me get that pony looking as nice and shiny and ready for any of the car meetups that are all around the great city of El Paso. Spoil your car and go to RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton and view all the inventory they have and find out what works for you to help make your ride shine. RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton. Use promo code Tipton33 at checkout to save 15%.